Now entering the elevator to the retail underground. Enjoy the descent to the subversive layer of knowledge.
All right, here we go. Chick-Fil-A. The name alone is known by virtually everyone for their chicken sandwiches and waffle fries. Or maybe it's the catchy ads they do with the cows holding up the Eat More Chicken signs. You know the ones I'm talking about. Either way, they've built up an impressive brand over the years. Heck, I live in New York, okay? We literally don't have one anywhere near us, but I know of Chick-Fil-A and I've been to ones out of state quite a few times. For this video, I want to do something a bit different. We're starting a new series on the channel talking about different franchise models, and we thought we would kick off this series talking about Chick-Fil-A. Before we do that, however, do us a quick favor. If you enjoy these type of videos, think about subscribing to the channel. It only takes a second. It really helps us out a ton. Okay, back to Chick-Fil-A. First thing we notice when we dive into Chick-fil-A's franchise model is the lower startup cost and the higher store sales. Chick-fil-A actually has the highest grossing locations out of any fast food place, with an average of, get ready for it, $4.5 million per year per location. Now think about that. Let that sink in for a minute. That's the average, okay? Many of their locations are actually quite a bit higher than that. In fact, their largest grossing location they have did over $17 million in sales in a single year. All I have to say is that is a ton of chicken and waffle fries right there. Now, things get especially interesting when you break that down a bit and do some comparative sales. Compared to a company like, let's say, McDonald's, one of the best known food brands in the world and probably the best known in the fast food industry, Chick-fil-A is actually well ahead of them. The average McDonald's location does about $2.9 million per year on average. Now compare that to the $4.5 million that we just talked about with Chick-fil-A. A huge gap right there. Now let's take a look at Burger King, another very well-established brand in the fast food industry. They average about $1.4 million per location, only about half of what McDonald's is doing per location, and only a third of the average Chick-fil-A location. Wow. Now, as we said earlier, the other thing we notice right off the bat is the startup fees to open a Chick-fil-A franchise. They're basically a fraction of the fees that are associated with other franchising competitors. No, seriously, the startup fee for a Chick-fil-A is only $10,000. Now, compare that to, let's say, McDonald's, who has a startup fee of anywhere from $1.3 to $2.3 million. I'm not joking. Even more than that, Burger King can be up to $3 million just to get the thing started. Wow, holy smokes. Okay, let's recap those a bit before we move on. So essentially the startup for a Chick-fil-A is 10 grand with an average yearly gross of $4.5 million per location. Meanwhile, McDonald's will take over $1 million and possibly over $2 million just to get the thing started, and you'll gross about $2.9 million on average per year. Obviously, some locations going to be more, some locations going to be, a little bit less. And then you have Burger King absolutely taking the cake on startup fees at up to $3 million for a yearly gross on average of $1.4 million. Now, we're not trying to find fault with McDonald's. We're not trying to find fault with Burger King. We're just giving you the facts as we found them. Okay. So at this point, you're probably thinking, what's the catch? Looking at these insane numbers, I think it's safe to ask, why would you ever open up anything other than a Chick-fil-A? Well, that's something I want to dive into, and I want to talk about some of the other things that Chick-fil-A has going on. Okay. First off, the 10 grand opening fee sounds great, right? I mean, come on. Compared to millions of dollars, yeah, that sounds amazing. Well, after digging a bit deeper, the franchise agreements actually do show that the owner is responsible for all other business expenses until the store becomes profitable. These would be things like, employee compensation, rent, insurance, any other, business expenses related to that. Believe me, those things add up in a hurry. The good news, however, these expenses are taken from the store revenue, not out of pocket, which, is nice at least on that end. Also, the Chick-fil-A business model requires the owner to be there running the business on a day-to-day basis. Unlike many other franchise models that allow the owner to, essentially install a manager or allow them to pursue other business opportunities at the same time, as long as they don't interfere with the franchise running, Chick-fil-A doesn't do that. They expect the owner/operator to be present and working alongside the employees, not focusing on any other business ventures. So essentially what that means is if an owner is looking for a more passive way to earn income, Chick-fil-A is probably not going to be the best choice for them to get started with. Another reason would be the lack of owner equity. Unlike other franchise models where you have the ability to grow the business and build your equity to potentially sell it down the road if you want to, you're not able to really do that with Chick-fil-A. Due to the much lower startup fee than the other franchises, Chick-fil-A retains all equity and ownership, almost making it as if the owner is more of an upper level employee of the company, more so than an owner. Kind of unique, kind of different. And again, I think a lot of that really depends on each person and what they want out of it. Another thing that we notice is the owner payout structure. In a typical fast food franchise model, the owner is going to retain 100% of the revenues that is earned by the location that they have, and then they pay out a royalty to the company. That royalty really can range from company to company. However, it's typically less than 10%. On the other hand, Chick-fil-A, interestingly, does the opposite of this. Since Chick-fil-A is technically the owner of the location, they receive 100% of revenues and then disperse royalties to the franchise owner based off the gross receipts. So it's basically just a flip-flop one to the other. Now, we don't know exactly how much of a percentage the store owners are retaining. Let's just say it's roughly in the ballpark of, typically what a franchise owner is going to pay in fees, and let's just base this off from a 6% number. If we were to take the average of $4.5 million in sales per year, a 6% owner royalty would mean an average owner for a Chick-fil-A franchise is going to bring home about $270,000. Not too shabby considering that they started with a $10,000 buy-in and all other expenses really weren't paid out of pocket. It was taken from store revenue. Very interesting right there. One last obstacle that we notice with starting a Chick-fil-A franchise is the difficulty in actually getting selected. It's well known that Chick-fil-A is particularly selective with their store franchisees and that they typically only open about 100 locations per year. However, they get thousands of willing applicants every year, and you can kind of see why. Okay, the buy-in is much lower. Now, obviously, all the structure on it's different, but still, they're going to attract a lot of attention with that. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing to get selected for. Only about 100 out of thousands of applicants. So let's recap on this. Chick-fil-A offers one of the most unique and, potentially best franchise opportunities really that there are. The startup costs are extremely low comparatively. However, the trade-off is less passive income and a different payout structure. However, those payouts are also coming from the highest grossing fast food restaurants that there are. So, yeah, there's that. I mean, you could potentially make a boatload on it. You also get a fairly well-differentiated company, at least, in my opinion. I mean, I would argue Chick-fil-A operates in a much less competitive market overall. Sure, they compete with other fast food chains. However, if you're looking at direct competition, chains like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, they're all duking it out with one another. Chick-fil-A is in there. However, they have differentiated products. As we said earlier, chicken sandwiches, waffle fries, stuff like that really kind of helps them stand out and sets them apart from some of those other competitors that we just mentioned. So all in all, it would appear Chick-fil-A offers a fairly unique and solid franchising opportunity. Although difficult to get selected, if you happen to be fortunate enough to be selected, it does look fairly rock solid. But let us know in the comments below, guys. What are your thoughts on Chick-fil-A? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. Don't forget to subscribe. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll catch you in the next one.